We've got about 6 or 7 minutes and time for a few questions or comments, and they may be responded to by these people or they may be responded to by government or by others. Chris had his hand up a moment ago. Do we have a microphone? I think microphone's a good idea.
Hello, I'm Chris Cook. I'm a recovering alcoholic. There may be some of you in there that have made it to a meeting and probably haven't made it yet that should be. I know I got 2 minutes and I can be shut off, but I like to say that this meeting has hope for me as a First Nations. For the first time, I feel that the non-First Nations are listening. That may sound like a racist remark. And I was in my group, and the person that shared what was in my group must be talking a different language than me because it didn't seem to be the same stuff that we were saying. So that's the difference, I think. I never heard anybody, the people there, talking about First Nations and what they thought about their villages and how connected we are to the land and how concerned we are that there are going to be processes that may be going on and maybe not talking to us and not being part of it. And that's the thing that I see. And I've been in this meeting, and when I talk in any other meeting, I'm pretty loud. A lot of you been in a lot of meetings I've been in, I'm pretty loud. And when I talk like that, I'm not mad, I'm not angry. But sometimes they get hot enough to screw. I mean, excuse me, I mean get hot enough to, I'll get away from that. But in my group, I walked out of the room. There was a racist remark. Somebody said there was a racist remark. A guy put his hand up and he said, "Oh, maybe you didn't see it. It was too brown." And he didn't mean anything in that. There's a thing that we call in our language tikwala. Some of you that have been with the First Nations understand. Every one of the tribes that I talked to up there understood it. They all have a word for it. We sit and we kid each other. That's I think when you start talking our language, to be able to understand, we do kid and we joke about different things. This guy took it as a remark, this non-First Nations. And he said that was a racist remark. It was really hard, and the person that was taking the notes felt the same way. And it wasn't a remark. And I'd like to say to all of you in here, all of you non-First Nations that belong to this, have I said anything that insulted you or hurt you in this meeting? I apologize. That's not my intent. But you know one thing, if it does bother you, that's something you work on before you go to sleep tonight. Something you can work on. I got to learn how to live with the white man too. All the time growing up, I got these blue eyes. And when I'm sitting in school, I remember when I went to school in 1953 in Vancouver here, I'd come home, my shirt was ripped, I got a fat lip, and my mom says, "You fighting again?" I'd just been fighting the day before. And I said, "Yeah." She said, "What were you fighting about?" I said, "They call me an Indian." She said, "You are an Indian." And the Indians will understand this here. Mom, it's the way they said it. It's the way they said it. I had to learn to live with that. I've sat in rooms with people that weren't First Nations, and they were talking about them Indians who don't pay taxes, them Indians that don't do this, and them Indians that get welfare. And I said, after a while, I said, "Hi, I'm Chris. I'm a First Nations from Alert Bay." And you know what some of them said? "Some of my best friends are Indians." The worst thing you could ever say to a First Nations, "Some of my best friends are Indians." So I'd like to say that in this room here. You know, I think we have to learn how to work together. I've seen that, I talked to the gentleman at the speak to learn about protocol, about our protocol is when we're in our gatherings. This is a different kind of gathering. I got to learn how to, I don't know about but I got to learn how to be able to live in this kind of gathering. I got to be learned to take that 2 minutes and keep quiet. Because the guys got what I see here, I should have bought this t-shirt I seen last week. It's when I speak, you lift up your hands and cover your mouth. Because I'm going to be talking for a while. But I told them that in our protocol, in our way, that when you got the stick or you got the feather, you speak. And when you cut you off, it's like, it's like having sex. When you're halfway through it, what's the use of trying it? Because you're going to be frustrated. I went out of here so frustrated because I couldn't come in this meeting. And I got back to my table today. You know what? Somebody was playing with my balls. And I didn't really appreciate that. So I'd like to thank you people. And a lot of you know me from a lot of different meetings. And one that I always close with is that I love you. No matter what you do to me, I love you. I learned that. But one of my mother to my dad used to say, it's nice to be nice. It's nice to be nice. And my mom said, love everybody. But remember, son, you're not dog. Don't let people walk over you. And I will never, ever, never, ever let anybody walk over me. And as long as this mouth works, I will fight for my people and speak up for my people. And I apologize to you for taking over 2 minutes. And this thing's going to work if we can sit at the table and we understand each other. And the more we come together, the more we will understand each other. And there's some beautiful women in this room. Thank you. Thanks to my sobriety.
Yeah, Chris and I did have a good tikwala together, I think, at lunch for a while. And one of the things that I've been impressed with and in other processes and in our meetings today and yesterday, and that I think you have to look at in the stakeholder engaging process is how do you take communication structures that are normal to boardrooms and normal to band council offices and normal to government halls, all of which are different from each other, and somehow bring them together in a communication structure that works. Because there's been communication here that's been irrelevant for some and relevant for others, and that's not going to be a successful way to communicate in the long run. So it's a question. We have table 8 and then table 7 to follow if we get that far. Oh, yeah. 18 and table 8 to follow.
Thanks.
And we just don't have enough time. So.
Chris Cook is a hard act to follow. But one thing just on the communications, a wise woman once said to me that respect costs you nothing. And it's something I hold on to very dearly when conversations are getting hard. But my question is, it's not really a question to the facilitators, but a comment and a question I think I'd like to hear back from the Secretariat on is, when we heard from Mike and Stephanie earlier, they talked about processes that are funded through a public-private partnership. And I'm wondering if that is an option or an opportunity for us to pursue here in PNCIMA to make that happen.
And I think one of the reasons that some of them are not around is that they're off preparing for the last segment of today, so I'm hoping people won't leave during the break. And that last segment is going to be what are next steps, where do you go from here, how is the steering committee and others going to use the information you've generated, and I think that's a question to pose. It's an important question.